Yo, what's up, guys? Coming at you with part 2 of my Unified Minds set review. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say. Let's get right into it. The first card up is the Mawile GX. Picking up right where we left off, it has the Captivating Wink ability. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may have your opponent reveal their hand, put any number of basic Pokemon you find there onto your opponent's bench. So I actually think this is a super powerful ability. We have this on a trainer card or item card, an expanded Captivating Pokepuff that does pretty much the same thing. You play it, look at your opponent's hand, you can put any basic Pokemon you find there onto your opponent's bench. The thing is, it is an item card, so it's a little bit harder to find. This is a GX Pokemon with currently we can find with like Pokemon Communication or Cherish Ball, and very easily find the Mawile GX, get it, use its ability, try and disrupt our opponent's setup. So I definitely think this card is pretty good. I think probably definitely better in expanded. I think there's some more combos that you'll be able to pull off and expanded. But overall, I do really like the ability. I could definitely see it being pretty good in standard still as well for specific situations, for a specific matchup, or just kind of in a deck in general where you just want to kind of put Pokemon on your opponent's bench. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I guess spread decks get a lot weaker in general, so this won't really help spread decks, because spread decks in general just aren't very good because we do lose DCE, one of the main things that allowed spread decks to spread aggressively. So yeah, we'll probably be seeing Weezing being very good here in standard anymore, but definitely could see this guy getting some pretty good use in standard moving forward. The attacks are Hustle Bite for Metal Colorless, 10 damage plus, plus 30 for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So it has an attack that combos with the ability that is nice, but you're not quite doing too much damage. Even if they have a full bench, you're only hitting for 160, so that's not really that much. Pokemon out here with like 270 HP, and then Big Eater GX Metal Colorless. Your opponent reveals their hand. Discard all supporter cards you find there. So kind of combos with the ability. You can look at their hand and be like, well, I want to get rid of those. So all those supporters you got there, you can do that. But yeah, not a super heavy, impactful GX attack there. It's okay. I mean, if you use Captivating Wink, look at their hand. If they have anything like Dedenne GX in there, put that on their bench. So they have no draw power through that. And then you go Big Eater, discard all the supporters. You can completely leave their hand stranded of any kind of draw support potentially, but then it only has 170 HP and you're not dealing with any potential threats your opponents might have. So overall, the attacks aren't great. It really is just kind of the ability that I think can be taken advantage of. How? I haven't really come up with anything yet, but I think it definitely has potential. Moving on down to the Garchomp Giratina tag team. First attack, linear attack, 1 colorless energy, 40 damage. Into the Calamity Edge. Psychic Fighting Colorless, 160 plus. If the opponent's active Pokemon already has any damage counters on it, this attack does 80 more damage. And then the GX attack is Psychic Fighting. Discard one of your opponent's Pokemon and all cards attached to it. If you have at least 3 extra fighting energy, that's kind of hard. It's going to be very hard to get to that point, I think, ever with this card. Getting the 3 extra fighting energy, I don't know how you're ever getting extra fighting energy on anything besides like Zygarde right now. So discard 2 of your opponent's Pokemon and all cards attached to them. So I actually think the GX attack is pretty good. You'll probably never get to use the full effect out of it, but for the Psychic Fighting, just the initial cost, discarding 1 Pokemon. I mean, if there's a Reshizard set up with like 5 or 6 energy, if there's a Pikarom that just got full blitz to itself and it's got 6 energy on it, GG Endgame GX, I could definitely see this having a pretty big impact in games. Actually, you don't draw any prizes. You know, it's not quite the same as saying, you know, knock out one of your opponent's Pokemon. You don't draw the prizes for it, but sometimes it's just as disruptive to your opponent's setup, and then from there, if they just can't recover, you're just going to be able to draw your prizes while your opponent does nothing from there anyway. So I definitely see this, the GX attack being pretty good overall. The other attack is a little iffy. It does swing really hard if the opponent's Pokemon already has damage on it, but the thing is, how are you ever getting damage on your opponent's Pokemon to begin with? The linear attack, for sure, maybe, but that's 2 turns. Basically 2-shotting something when something is probably 2-shotting you. I know this card has quite a bit of talk around being played with Malamar, which seems like the most reasonable way to set it up. I do agree with that. However, because the first attack is so awkward, and the second attack is so awkward, and actually being able to ever one-shot anything, I think you're better off just playing like an Ultra Necrozma still in a Malamar deck. The HP is nice. I'm sure you can maybe just 2-shot stuff. You could use Giratina to get maybe that 10 damage on something it's on the bench, and then when it comes active, knock it out with the Calamity Edge. But seems a little too awkward for me, although I really do like the GX attack. I think overall, Ultra Necrozma is just going to be the better way to go for a Malamar build anyways. Going right along, nothing to really talk about with the Dragonite. I think that might be it for Dark Pokemon. Oh, there is the Noivern. Oh, we do have the Naganadel GX. I forget that guy's a Dragon type. We do have this Noivern, 120 HP. It is a stage 1. It's got the Boom Burst attack for 1 colorless. This attack does 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So if there is any potential for a spread deck to kind of work in Standard, it would be through this Noivern. Even then, though, I don't think it's going to end up working out. We lose stuff like Rescue Stretcher and pretty much any kind of aggressive Pokemon recovery. We really only have Brock's Grit anymore, and I don't think that's going to be quite enough to keep Noiverns in play constantly. I mean, we do have Mysterious Treasure, so we have a way to find them. But yeah, there is going to be a spread deck going around. I think this guy will be leading the charge with it, but I don't think it's going to be quite... I don't think he's quite enough by himself, so don't see spread decks really working out anymore. But yeah, this guy would be the guy to go to. Next up, we have the Naganadel GX. This is maybe the best card in this. I mean, it's up there. It's definitely like the top 5 cards out of the set for sure. I don't want to say there's a best card yet, but this card is super good. I'm a huge fan of this card. It's got the Ultra Conversion ability. It can discard, well, once on your turn, you can discard an Ultra Beast from your hand, Ultra Beast card, and then draw 3 cards. So super nice draw engine. The first attack is actually very good for what it does. It's a little bit awkward to set up. It is Psychic, colorless, 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 so it does work with the triple boost. If you want to use or the triple acceleration energy or whatever with it, you can discard 2 energy from this Pokemon, then do 170 to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So it can be the active, it can be the bench, whatever. And then the GX attack is for 1 lightning, choose a card from your opponent's discard pile, and then put it face down as one of your opponent's prize cards. So it's an alright GX attack. I think where this card will probably see the most use is in probably a Blacephalon GX deck. Blacephalon, Naganadel, throw in a couple of these into that build. And then you have draw power throughout the game through the Ultra Conversion ability, and then you can even use the first attack or the GX attack through the Beast Energy that you'll already be playing anyways, to be able to like snipe stuff like Dedenes off the bench or something like that. Doing 170 to the active is never too bad, so you might want to do that as well. But yeah, I definitely see this card actually seeing play for sure in Blacephalon and Naganadel. I'm sure it'll see play in other decks. Maybe it'll be the new Zoroark. Maybe Zoroark control isn't really going anywhere. It'll just turn into Naganadel control. Still be able to draw cards through the Ultra Conversion ability. We'll have to see. But yeah, this card's super good. Definitely see it having play in, what's it called for sure? Blacephalon, Naganadel. Other places, I think we'll see it being played as well. Maybe not so much in Expanded, but in Standard, I think this card will be sticking around in Tier 1, Tier 2 decks for a while. All right, let's move right along here into the colorless Pokemon. I actually think there's maybe no colorless Pokemon to talk about. Nothing that I thought were interesting at all. Pretty sure there's none. Yeah, there's like nothing really relevant coming out of the colorless guys in this set. I'm gonna take a quick scan back through, but I'm pretty sure put down that there was nothing to look at. Was this guy anything? No. Yeah. Colorless Pokemon, not very good. All right, getting into the trainer cards. Blaine's quiz show. Put a Pokemon from your hand face down in front of you. Tell your opponent one of its attack names. Your opponent guesses the name of the Pokemon. Reveal that Pokemon. If your opponent guessed right, they draw 4 cards. If your opponent guessed wrong, you draw 4 cards. So drawing 4 cards raw is pretty good. However, this card will almost never work out in your favor if you're playing a common mainstream tier 1, tier 2 deck. You say a name of an attack, and your opponent will know for sure what Pokemon it is. So Blaine's quiz, unfortunately, will not be working out very well at all, I don't think, anytime soon. Blizzard Town Stadium card. Each Pokemon in play with 40 or less remaining HP can't attack. So this is a really interesting stadium card, actually. I think it would be a lot better if it didn't look to me like that most decks in Standard are already going to be playing 4 stadiums of their own. Something like Blizzard Town could actually be pretty good. But because I expect most decks to be playing 4+ stadiums, you'd have to play like 4+ Blizzard Town of your own, and that doesn't seem very good to me. So I don't think Blizzard Town is going to be seeing any use anytime soon. Doesn't mean in the future we won't see it do something. Because I mean, if it sticks and it pulls off its effect against your opponent, it's very strong, right? If they have 40, if you make it so they have 40 or less HP consistently with whatever deck you're playing, and then they can't attack, right? That's pretty good, right? But because decks are going to be playing so many stadiums, I don't think Blizzard Town is going to be working out very consistently at all. And maybe a couple sets down the line, when stadiums become a little bit less popular in decks, we could see it coming back. Next up, we got Blues Tactics When this turn is over, draw cards from your deck until you have 8 cards in your hand. So it's a kind of interesting supporter. When your turn ends, draw until you have 8 cards in your hand. So you can combo this by like using it to begin to start your turn, and then I don't know, use the Dene, go through a little bit more of your deck, play out some cards, and then at the end of your turn, draw up to 8. You know, after you've attacked and done everything, drop to 8. So it's an interesting card. I think it would work with some kind of decks that trying to combo. It might work in like a Shed Ninja type build with Substrika and stuff, potentially. I'm not quite sure where this card fits. It's kind of an awkward effect because it is after your turn. You know, you'd probably usually rather like play a Cynthia or a Lily to draw some cards and use those that turn than play the Blues Tactics for your turn. So I think in some kind of combo decks, this card will definitely be good. And I'm a little bit scared of what it can potentially do in Expanded. I haven't theorymoned anything yet with it in Expanded, but I'm a little scared of what it can potentially pull off in Expanded. We'll have to kind of wait and see on that one. Bug Catcher, not very good. We're going to go and skip that. We got Chandler, remove all effects of attacks on you and your Pokemon. Supporter card. Basically, a reprint of Pokemon Ranger. If I'm not pretty sure, that's literally almost word for word what Pokemon Ranger does. So basically a reprint of Pokemon Ranger. I don't think it'll have a ton of effect currently in Standard, but who knows down the line, maybe they'll reprint Seismitoad or something. Next up, Cherish Ball, item card. Search your deck for a Pokemon GGX, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So glad they gave us something as far as Pokemon search go. I was really hoping they would reprint Ultra Ball. I think Ultra Ball is a very fair card, in my opinion. Cherish Ball is also pretty fair, in my opinion, as far as a Pokemon search card. You can only get GX Pokemon with it. Puts it into your hand. So that's cool. We have something to find Pokemon. We have, between this and Communication, you should be able to put together a decent draw engine for your deck, hopefully. So yeah, Cherish Ball is going to be a staple for a while. Go ahead. You're definitely going to want some of these. Going to be in pretty much any deck that runs a GX. I'm pretty sure you'll have some count of Cherish Ball, and then it will just depend on whether or not the deck works with Mysterious Treasure, or if you play enough Pokemon where you want to play Pokemon Communication, and then Cherish Ball will kind of fit in on top of that. So yeah, definitely going to be seeing play for sure. Coach Trainer, draw 2 cards. If your active Pokemon is a tag team Pokemon, draw 2 more cards. I actually think this card has some potential with tag team decks. Only if you maybe don't want to play Lily in your deck, because I think Cynthia will be a 4 of in pretty much every deck. If you don't want to play Lily though, and you want to play, I don't know, Cynthia plus the Coach Trainer for whatever reason, I could see Coach Trainer actually being okay as long as you're playing once again a tag team deck. I could definitely see this card being good, way better than the Blaine's Quiz. But you do have to have a tag team in your active, which can be quite a drawback depending on the scenario. But I could see this one definitely having potential there. Dark City, all basic Dark Pokemon in play, both yours and your opponents, have no retreat cost. Free retreat stadium for basic Dark Pokemon. I think there's better stadiums. Like, the only Dark deck that I think is going to be going around anytime soon will be the Dark Box deck, and I think the better stadium is going to be Viridian Forest or maybe Ultra Space to find your Naganadels in there. So I don't see Dark City being super heavily played anytime soon. So it's an okay stadium, definitely a good stadium, but I think there's just better stadiums right now. Ear Ringing Bell. When it's your active Pokemon and is damaged by an attack, when it's attached to your active Pokemon and it's damaged by an attack, the attacking Pokemon is now confused. It's okay. Confusion has never been a super strong effect pretty much ever, especially when we still have a ton of ways for decks to move around with stuff. Switches, your aura that gives your lightning Pokemon free retreat, or just you not caring if your Pokemon is confused. All big factors here. Not going to be seeing any play at all, in my opinion. Of course, I've been wrong before, but I think Ear Ringing Bell is going to be a bulk card forever. We're going to go ahead. The Flyinium Z Air Slash tool card. Gonna skip it. Giant Bomb. Definitely the best tool card, I think, coming out of the set. And probably just going to be the best tool card in Standard in general, besides maybe a Skateboard. Don't have a ton of tool cards going around that are very good anymore. But Giant Bomb, you can attach it to one of your Pokemon, discard it at the end of your opponent's turn. If the Pokemon this card is attached to is your active Pokemon and takes 180 or more damage from an opponent's attack, put 10 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So the effect is pretty good because you can use it to protect stuff like mainly your big GX tag team Pokemon. Put it on a Pikarom, put it on a Reshizard, and be like, all right, if you want to knock this out, you can, but you're also going to take 100 damage back in return for knocking me out. So I actually really like this tool. I don't know how much play we'll see out of it. I think Lysander's Labs is going to be a pretty popular card going around to shut down tool cards in general. This would be another tool card that would shut down. Mainly shut down a Skateboard, and Spell Tag would be the main ones. Spell Tag is definitely a little bit better than Giant Bomb, but it's only for Psychic Pokemon. But, you know, just depending on how the Stadium meta shapes up, I think Giant Bomb could be pretty good. And kind of how the meta in general shapes up. You know, if it's big tag team Pokemon are a big thing, then being able to do 100 damage if they ever hit you sounds pretty good to me. So Giant Bomb, definitely up there for high potential, but very meta dependent, I think, on what lists are kind of running. Next card, Giant Hearth. Definitely one of the best cards coming out of this set. I don't know how good it's going to be. Discard a card. Once during each player's turn, they may discard a card from their hand. If they do, search their deck for 2 basic fire energy cards. So definitely, it's basically a double Viridian Forest for fire energy. So super good card. However, only good with decks that play basic fire energy. So it's really going to come down to, are fire energy or fire decks actually going to be good? You know, we do lose some stuff. Green's Reshizard gets punished now by Reset Stamp. We don't have Kiawe for the Jirachi build of Reshizard anymore. I mean, they still have Welder to set up their Reshizards, but Kiawe was pretty good, in my opinion, in that deck. So we'll have to see. But if, you know, Reshizard is still going around, going around as a top deck, I'm sure multiple copies of this card will be in the deck for sure, because the card's pretty insane. Discarding a card to search your deck for 2 fire energy is pretty good. I feel like this would almost always replace Fiery Flint unless you for sure had to play a different Stadium card for the meta. Like if you have to play Lysander Labs or Power Plant or whatever it might be, then maybe you would be playing a split of Fire Flint and Giant Hearth. But if not, I expect there to be like, you know, 3 or 4 copies of this in Reshizard decks if Reshizard is able to remain a top deck going forward. Next up, Great Potion, one of my favorite cards coming out of the set. Heal 50 damage from your active Pokemon GX. It doesn't seem that ridiculous. It's not anything that Jurassic super special at all. Just heal 50 damage from your active Pokemon GX. I don't know why I like this card so much, but I do. It's kind of just like a big potion. Currently been running 4 copies of this in my Green's Reshizard build alongside 4 mixed herbs. I have like a full heal build going on, which I will share with you guys soon here on the YouTube channel. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of this card. I really like this card. I'm hoping I get to see some. I'm hoping I get to make some good competitive decks with it, and I'll be able to use it in tournament. But we'll see. I've been wrong before on calling cards good and bad before. So Grimsley, move 3 damage counters from one of your opponent's Pokemon to another of your opponent's Pokemon. Could see this maybe being good. I can't really come up with a situation in my head when this card would ever be good. I think it may be potentially an expanded. This would see more play. Like I said, spread decks aren't really going to exist, I don't think. So potentially in like a Spiritomb deck or a deck where you play Shrine. Shrine damage builds up on the bench somewhere, and then you move it around to get like a triple plus power to make it easier to knock something else active. So I could see you using this in maybe like a Spiritomb deck, where, you know, you play Shrines, the Shrine damage is built up on your opponent's side of the field, and you're like, all right, Grimsley, move that up to this, I don't know, Pikarom, and then one-shot the Pikarom with a Spiritomb for the turn. So something like that, I could see Grimsley seeing, getting some play there. But besides that, very situational card. Yeah, it's kind of awkward to pull off consistently, so it has to be a very situational situation. Next up, Hapu, support a card. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck, put 2 of them into your hand, and discard the rest. So this is not quite an exact reprint, but very similar to a card we used to have called Sage's Training, which did pretty much the same thing, except it only looked at the top 5, pick 2, discard the rest. I always hated that card, and I don't think I'm going to like this card much better. I almost feel like this is worse than Sage's Training because now you have to discard 4 cards. Sure, you get to see 1 card deeper, but I feel like the drawback is a little bit more than the reward. So I'm not a huge fan of this card, but if it's kind of the best draw support we have, I guess I'll kind of have to suck it up and play it. We'll have to kind of see how that pans out. We still can play 4 Lily, 4 Cynthia, so I feel like I'm not going to be forced to play this card anytime soon. Karate Belt. If you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, tool card, item tool card, by the way. The attacks of the Pokemon this card is attached to cost fighting less. So some fighting support with this karate belt doesn't seem ridiculously strong. Seems okay. You have to be behind on prize cards for it to take effect. Fighting Pokemon, we're losing a lot of our good fighting Pokemon, so we'll have to see if this card is actually any good at all. Currently, I would have to guess it won't be that great. But maybe down the line, once we get a set with a little bit more fighting support, this card will see some play for sure. Misty's Favored, talked about this in part 1 of my set review when we went over the Psyduck Slowpoke tag team along with Lapras combo. Search your deck for up to 3 supporter cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. It's a supporter card itself. It can be taken back out of the discard pile with the Lapras. The only deck I think this would ever see play in is the Psyduck Slowpoke tag team Lapras deck. And even then, I'm a little skeptical of that deck actually being good at all. So, we'll see. I'm going to go ahead and skip the Tackle Z move. Pokemaniac, search your deck. Support a card, search your deck for 3 Pokemon with 4 retreat costs and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. I'm not super blown away by this card. 4 retreat costs is quite a bit, so this is fairly specific on what decks or what Pokemon you'd actually be able to combo with this with. So nothing super huge, I don't think. Nothing super relevant currently. Make do with this card yet. In a couple sets, who knows? We might see some other stuff come out and expand it as well. There might be some more potential for this card, but not really blown away by it. Pokemon Research Lab, super cool card. At first, I thought it was way better than it actually is. I thought it didn't. I didn't know that it ended your turn after you used the effect. But it does allow you to search your deck for 2 cards that evolve from unidentified fossil and put them onto your bench. Then you shuffle your deck, and your turn ends. So if it didn't end your turn, this card would be ridiculous. Unfortunately, it does end your turn. So I'm not quite as blown away by this card as I was initially. I still think it can potentially be very powerful. What you would play it with, I'm not sure. Seems like you definitely want to play it with something like Aerodactyl. However, if you do use it to get your Aerodactyl out, you with the energy attachment for turn on the Aerodactyl, so I don't see that being even super strong with Aerodactyl. So currently in Standard, I don't think it's that good. In Expanded, I'm sure there's some pretty big combos or pretty big cool plays you can pull off with it. But here in Standard right now, I don't see this card being very good at all. Moving on, Reset Stamp, maybe my favorite card coming out of this set, because it gives decks comeback potential. Item card, trainer card. Your opponent shuffles their hand into their deck and then draws cards equal to the remaining prize cards. Super glad they made this card. Super glad they actually made this and didn't reprint N. I think this is like a more balanced version of N, because it really only has one use, whereas N had many uses. So yeah, super glad they printed this card, and we're gonna have access to it soon. The Reset Stamp. It's just nice to have a card that allows us to have some kind of comeback in games and to be able to build into our decks. So yeah, super happy to see it. I don't really have much to say on it. Will definitely be one of the best decks in the cards in the set, and will definitely be played for as long as it's in rotation for sure. Slumbering Forest, Stadium card, flip 2 coins instead of 1 in between turns for Pokemon that are asleep. If either of them is Tails, the Pokemon is still asleep. So I actually think this Stadium is pretty good when comboed with the Mareep. The Mareep plus Breloom deck. That deck's a little scary actually in my opinion. I hope it doesn't end up being too powerful, because simply relying on coin flips to see whether or not you win games is never fun. But yeah, having to flip 2 heads to be able to wake up one of your Pokemon it's pretty annoying. That's pretty annoying. So you do you will 100% get use out of the Stadium, because you will get as long as you put the Stadium in play. Going into their turn, they will have to flip 2 coins at least once. And then they can bump the Stadium, and only have to flip 1 coin going into your turn. But yeah, the Stadium's a little bit scary when comboed with the Mareep Breloom. But besides that, I don't see it having a ton of use. I could actually see Mareep plus the Stadium making its way into multiple different decks, though, and then you kind of are just always trying to keep your opponent's Pokemon asleep, which I actually think isn't a terrible combo. So I could see that becoming a thing, where you just play Mareep with the skateboards and 4 Slumbering Forest, and you just try and get those extra few turns of your opponent just hitting Tails on the sleep, and then you get to pretty much do whatever you want on your following turn. So that's a little scary as well. We'll have to see how that pans out, but I could definitely see that becoming a reality for sure. Next up is Stadium Nav item card. Flip 2 coins for each heads. Search your deck for a Stadium card and put it into your hand. So I think this card is super good in Pikarom at the very least. That's basically how I've been looking to try and get off my turn 1 full blitz with my Pikarom build. I've been using Stadium Nav plus Rayquaza because we don't really have a ton of search to find Coco Prism, and I'll be sharing with that list you guys as well on the YouTube channel here in a couple days. But yeah, looking to get aheads on a Stadium Nav, find the Thunder Mountain, find Rayquaza with a Cherish Ball, get an energy on the Rayquaza, attach Energy Switch, Thunder Mountain, turn 1 full blitz, because it really is pretty hard to find Coco Prism on the first turn. So been using the Stadium Nav personally to find the Thunder Mountain, and it's been working out pretty well. So yeah, at least in Pikarom, I think this card is super good. I think it's pretty good overall. In general, how much play we'll see with it outside of Pikarom, I'm not sure. Maybe it's not even as good as I think it is in Pikarom currently, but I've been liking it so far. Next up is Tag Switch, another card that's super good in Pikarom. Outside of Pikarom, not sure it has a whole ton of use, but move 2 energy from one of your tag team Pokemon to another of your Pokemon. So, like I said, it's been super great for me so far in Pikarom, being able to switch between Pikaroms very efficiently, or from Pikarom into a Raichu tag team. Been super strong in my couple games I have put in so far with Pikarom. So, super strong card in Pikarom. Not sure we'll see too much use with it currently in other decks, but I'm sure down the line some other tag teams will come up where we're like, this card's really good in that deck too. But for right now, definitely good in Pikarom. Everything else, the wait and see. Unidentified Fossil, gonna skip that U-turn board. The retreat cost of this Pokemon is a colorless less. If this card would go to the discard pile from in play, put it into your hand instead. Skateboard is still going to be better than this card for most decks that you would ever want to play anything that does anything like this. So I don't see this card seeing play maybe ever. In Expanded, we have Floatstone. Standard, currently, if you're ever going to play a tool card that allows you to retreat your Pokemon, you're probably playing a Skateboard for your Jirachis or your Mareep or something like that. U-turn board probably won't ever see play ever. I'm going to go ahead and make that call right now. Next up, we have Recycle Energy. Provides a colorless energy. Would ever be put from play into your discard pile, return it to your hand. So this is a reprint of a card. I don't even know how long it's been since we've had this card, but it's been a while. Potentially pretty good with Porygon, and maybe with the Naganadel GX from this set. I think there's probably more interesting uses with it in Expanded. Nothing that I have currently tried to dive into in Theorymon yet. I'm trying to avoid Expanded as much as possible at all times. But I definitely think it has some potentially in Standard with Porygon, allowing you to attach as many special energy from your hand as you want on your turn is pretty good. And then these going right back to your hand, also pretty good. So Porygon, I definitely think Recycle Energy has potential. Besides that, probably not in Expanded. Who knows? But in Standard, probably only has potential with the Porygon. Maybe Porygon Whimsicott, getting those energies back is pretty good. We'll have to see. And then Weakness Guard Energy provides a colorless energy. The Pokemon this is attached to has no weakness. A little bit awkward because it only provides a colorless energy. Could definitely see it being played, though, in maybe stuff like Pikarom or Reshizard to get rid of their weakness. Could definitely see it being played in those. Besides that, not too sure about this one. It seems a little bit just kind of underwhelming in general. You don't quite get enough out of the card. And providing colorless energy is kind of awkward. I mean, the two decks I just mentioned, Pikarom and Reshizard, you kind of need a lot of lightning and a lot of fire energy on the Pokemon to attack. So drawing into, multiple of these or even one at sometimes could be pretty awkward. So you don't really want to play it ever. But I could see it having potential in decks like that. Maybe. But it is one of those cards where it seems pretty good for those scenarios. But once you play around with it, it's just too awkward to have all the time in the deck, especially when you're not playing against those matchups, that it's better to just keep it straightforward, keep it consistent, just play whatever basic energy your deck revolves around to begin with. And we come to the end here as we get to the full art. So that's going to do it, guys, for my set review, looking at Ununified Minds. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, be sure to give it a like. If you're enjoying the content, be sure to subscribe. Links in the description to my social medias as well as Twitch live stream. I'll be coming at you guys with deck profile decks, with some proxy decks of the lists for the new, including cards from the new set. First couple are going to be Pikarom and Green's Reshizard, so those will be coming out soon. If you guys think I missed anything or should have gone over anything else in the video, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. And that's it for me, guys. Have a good day. Thanks for watching, and peace.